This is Human Fall Flat, a physics-based puzzle platformer that doesn't take itself too seriously. First hitting PC consoles and phones back in 2016, this janky and hilarious mess of a game has been given the VR treatment and is easily the best way to play it in 2024. Stick around and I'll tell you why. Hey guys, it's Chris from the VR Grid and welcome to the channel. If you like this video, give it a like for us, and if you're interested in more VR content, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss new videos as they drop. And if you're looking to join our VR conversations, feel free to leave a comment, or even better, join us each and every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific here for the Virtual Boys podcast. Okay, so full disclosure, I never played this game flat until just recently to compare it to the VR version. When it came out years ago, it looked silly and gimmicky, and I grouped it in with games that I had no interest in, like Goat Simulator. Well, as is often the case with VR gaming, I try games in VR that I wouldn't normally play, so here we are. Well, as it turns out, I had much more fun here with Human Fall Flat than I expected. Yes, this is a puzzle platformer, but what makes this game special is the physics engine at play and the incredible made-for-VR control system. In the flat version, your arms were controlled by the computer mostly, with players having control over both their left and right hand grip, with the analog sticks handling movement and camera direction as you would expect. Now, while movement and camera control are the same here in the VR version, full arm control is now possible using the movement of the VR controls, with the grip buttons being, you guessed it, your right and left grips. And boy, does that make for a more immersive and hilarious game experience. It does, however, make it a much more physical game as a result, so know that going in. You'll be lifting your arms a lot as you reach up and hoist yourself onto ledges and bending over slightly at the waist in order to reach the lowest items on the ground. However, with this increased physicality also comes a much better sense of actually interacting with the world. Think Bone Lab through the lens of Mario 64 with a bit of the intentional awkwardness of Surgeon Simulator. Of course, for comedic purposes, and you will have a good idea of what I'm talking about. However, let me be clear, controlling your character on screen can be a test of patience, as that intentional jank or awkwardness that is a key part of the Human Fall Flat experience can also be very frustrating. Learning to do basic tasks like hoisting yourself up on things and picking up and moving items are skills that you will get better at the more you play, but expect the struggle to be real at times. All that being said, the difficulty in completing basic tasks is also where much of the game's entertainment value comes from. However, there are a few aspects of the game design that are needlessly frustrating, and much of that has to do with the game's brutal camera angles. This was an issue in the flat game and is still an issue here in VR. It's never game breaking, but you will fight it from time to time as you try and get a proper view of the ledge you're trying to grab or a hazard you want to avoid. Now, yes, this is a puzzle game, and as you might know, I'm not a puzzle guy, hence why Ryan always covers those games. I have no patience for them, but I do love open world sandbox titles where you can make your own fun. And Human Fall Flat is honestly more the latter than the former. Essentially, each of the game's 18 worlds are puzzle gauntlets, if you will, with a beginning point and an end point you must reach in order to complete the level. What I loved here, though, is that how you get to the end, with only a few exceptions, is kind of up to you. Each level usually has a few new ideas and gimmicks that you need to figure out in order to proceed throughout it, but outside of that, if you can figure out a better way to climb, swing, or straight up cheese a part of the level, you can probably do it. In fact, some of these worlds are so complex and interconnected that a clear path isn't even always clear, leaving players to do a lot of exploring along with trial and error experimentation as simply part of playing the game. Playing solo was fun and often a rewarding experience as I figured out ways to accomplish tasks. But where Human Fall Flat really comes together is in its multiplayer, where you and up to 3 other players can customize your character's outfits and jump into a map together to tackle it. Now, of course, 4 minds is better than 1 when it comes to solving puzzles, but more people also often means more shenanigans, mishaps, and funny moments, as you will all fumble, fight, and learn the game's physics and control systems. Consequently, having more players can also open up new and innovative ways to solve puzzles. As such, playing these maps with friends can often be a very different experience than playing alone, offering players even more replay value. Now, graphics-wise, regardless of VR platform you're playing on, Human Fall Flat looks pretty much exactly like it did as a flat game. As you can see, clearly this is not a visually impressive game in the slightest, and it looks every bit the indie game that it is. Now, with its flat textures and minimal lighting, Human Fall Flat most closely resembles something like, I don't know, the original Honor and Duty, or something like Walkabout Mini Golf when it first launched with its early courses. Honestly though, I can't say it really bothered me, as there was little to no pop-in and the game's simple aesthetics somehow seemed to fit its simple premise. Thankfully, your blob of a character animates well, and his boneless body is often just humorous to watch as it flails around and ragdolls off objects. Now, I tested this game on my Quest 3 as it was the only version I got access to early enough, and honestly, could be a bit sharper. And I can't see any reason why I should see any jagged edges here. Additionally, the frame rate can drop a bit when smooth turning around large open sections of the map. I'm hoping these issues are not on the other platforms, and they really shouldn't be, but they shouldn't be here either. So I'm hoping for a day one patch. However, as it is, if you're getting the Quest version and suffer from VR sickness in the slightest, click turning will be your friend here. Furthermore, if you do have VR sickness, there are a lot of options here for including blinders and the option of an in-game nose to ground your view. Sound-wise, as you can imagine, the sound design is pretty simple here, and it does little more than to just get the job done. You will want to turn down the music though, as it can be loud and is not very good. But on the positive side of things, the game does include in-game chat, which of course is great for the multiplayer side of things.
Get off me now.
No! This just went from hug to rape.
This is not consensual!
And finally, that brings me to my final thoughts and review score. Human Fall Flat is, at a glance, a rather simple affair, both graphically and gameplay-wise, and may unfortunately be disregarded by many simply because of these first impressions. I know because I was one of them. However, with its janky physics, open-ended puzzle design, and a pure sense of silly fun, I can see why this game has been so popular over the past 8 years over in Flatland. In VR, this game really just works, and it's actually far superior to the flat version, as developer Sneakybox has adopted an almost marionette style of control system, where your guy's arms are directly controlled by the movement of your arms via the VR motion controls. This gives players a real sense of control and immersion that's simply not in the original game, and it not only makes for a better playing game, but it also makes for an even more hilarious and unpredictable experience, whether playing either alone or with friends online. The latter of which I would say is easily the best way to play Human Fall Flat. It's true, many games I would never play flat I get exposed to through VR and are often better because of it. This is one of those games. The VR Grid gives Human Fall Flat an 8 out of 10.